that most of you have at some point in your lives written a love letter, a real bona fide, pour your heart out on the page love letter, preferably to woo someone or maybe win someone back, something where you just, got into that moment of insanity and gave it everything you've got. And if you've ever had the pleasure to receive such a letter, I'm sure you will understand what that's like to have this piece of paper that, you smell the paper, you touch the ink, it's like that person is right there with you. On a more tragic note, I think that maybe some of you have at some point in your life had someone close to you die. And maybe later, maybe even years later, you found a piece of paper, a card, a note, anything that has their handwriting on it, and how strong the presence of that person feels just in that handwriting. It's just incredibly precious. It's really powerful stuff when we set our hand to the page. Oh, beloved dentist, your rubber fingers in my mouth, your voice so soft and muffled. Lower the mask, dear dentist, lower the mask. Okay, I never sent it, but at least I wrote it. 5 or 6 years ago, I was a graphic designer, and I was making brochures and websites and business cards and logos and all those kinds of things that graphic designers make. And I was miserable. I was miserable because I was caught up in the marketing and promotion of things that essentially don't matter. And I was doing my work in a way that was uninspired, and I was essentially faced with my own mediocrity. So sorry, okay. Yeah.
Can we button this?
He's asking me to button my shirt up.
Okay, it's just rubbing it.
Okay, all righty. Get a little more decent here. So anyway, it's really depressing to spend your life creating landfill. So I changed the way I work, and I left my business, and I decided that I needed to work in a more personal way. Sorry, I'm a little bit behind in my slides here. Sorry, that really put me off. Okay, so I really wanted to change the focus of my work to try and make work that really connected with people. That maybe when I set my hand to the page, I would create something that resonated, and that maybe the personality of my work could, transcend garbage. Oops, I need to go back. Okay. Dennis Bantjes is my dad. He has big hands and was always strong, and in the way of good daughters, I believed and still believe he was the best machinist alive. I already screwed that up. It's a difficult one to read. He has had a long line of cars, and because of him, I am fond of the smell of engine grease and mechanic's hand cleaner. And I was proud that he could change a transmission in the afternoon the way some people would change a spark plug. Now he lives in a small town in Saskatchewan and wonders what to do with all his machines. So the story of my journey of changing from a graphic designer to whatever it is that I am now is often the focus of an entire talk at a graphic design conference. And the reason for that is that it makes designers cry. And it makes them cry because basically I took a leap of faith and desire and hope, and started creating work that was meaningful to me, and discovered that it was meaningful to other people too. Essentially, I followed my heart, and crazily, it worked out for me. Also, in light of what we heard this morning, I thought I would add that I also, at the same time, moved to an island. And I work from that island for people all over the world. I work from home. I get a lot of sleep. I have a lot of time alone. I get a lot of rest. I have a very stress-free life. But one of the major changes that I took at that time was that I made an effort to stop working for money and start working for love. And it's not that I don't get paid, I do, but I don't work by the hour. I don't keep track of the time that I'm spending on the work. And I try not to work for things or people that don't interest me, although, shit happens. Generally, I love the work that I do, and I lavish my attention on it. I'm also, always sort of craving positive feedback. In a sense, I'm actually quite needy. So, I'm creating work because I just, I want people to like me, if not love me. And then sometimes I'm actually in love, and I'm able to channel that energy into the work that I do, and watch it come back to me in various ways. So, in light of this, a few years ago, I decided that I would adopt Valentine's Day as my day to send things out to people, to my clients and colleagues. And I used to send out paper things that were printed. But on my third year of doing this, I was traveling so much in January, and I really didn't have time to sit down and make something special and get it printed in time. So I thought, okay, well, maybe what if I just slash my mailing list down to the core people, the people I really like, and make, do a hand-drawn Valentine for each one of those people. And, I thought I can do it on planes and in airports and in hotel rooms, and just like a little bit by a little bit. So I slashed my mailing list. I got down to 150 people. I started drawing Valentines, and I think it was February 9th. And I had drawn 10 Valentines. And I thought, man, I'm so screwed. Like, this cannot be done. I cannot draw 140 Valentines and sign them and number them and scan them for documentation and put them in envelopes and put people's names on them and get them out in time for Valentine's Day. It can't be done. So I sat down and did it anyway. And I got an overwhelming response, I'm pleased to say. I got nearly 100% response rate from the people that I sent these out to. Almost everybody got them in time. The first one I sent out was to China, arrived in time. In fact, I have to say that those people who did not respond will never, ever receive anything from me ever again. So all of this is not to say that I don't work for money, because I do. But I'm trying really hard, to make a connection with the people that I work for, that I work with, and also with the work that I create. And there are other things which motivate me as well, which are really more connected to my brain and to figuring things out. And as fascinating as that is, I could go on about it for a long time. I'm not going to for the purposes of this talk. I'm going to focus on mostly on the concept of love, this theme of love. Doyle Young is over 80 now, but doesn't look a day over 65. He's the closest I've ever had to a mentor. In public, he is polite and well-spoken. In private, he can be wicked and funny. I feel his eyes on my curves as I draw. As I draw, I will always be aware of his critical and approving gaze as I struggle to make it perfect. He calls me intrepid. Now, I often think about the medieval scribes who made the illuminated manuscripts, or really any of the great religious works. Have a very common theme of embellishment and detail. And I wonder how they did that, what it was that compelled them to, to spend so much time and energy on something. Well, the answer, of course, is love. For them, it was the love of God. The artisan, artist or craftsperson poured their little heart out onto the page or into the stone or whatever it was that they were making, with the belief that God would see it and love him or her back. Sweet. Myself, being an atheist, I'm kind of envious of this potential and this ready source of love that they can channel into their work with the surety that it will be seen and appreciated. Gillian Muir is my non-biological twin. I knew her when I was 3 years old, and though we only spent 2 years together in the same city, she knows everything about me there is to know. She has a PhD in neuroscience and a doctorate of veterinary medicine, and she's much, much smarter than me. She fucking makes me laugh. She kills me. I should take her advice more often. Now she has a husband, 3 daughters, a cat, and a dog, and lives in Saskatoon, and she's still my twin. So I also think a lot about ornamentation and details as a form of honor. We honor things through detailed embellishment. When we honor something, we frame it, and we put a commitment of time into it. Hours of skilled human labor. It's like a manifestation of time right there before your eyes. Interestingly, the number one question that I'm asked about my work is, how long did that take? And it's a very telling question because people are able to equate time with value. The more time we spend on something, the more we honor it. Time is precious. It's the most precious thing that we have. And when we spend our time on something, we sacrifice a piece of ourselves to do it. Debbie Millman adopted me in 2004. Now I am part of her family, along with Scruffy, Duff, Rothko, and Lucy. She wants me to adopt Lucy, but Lucy drools. When I see Debbie speak on the business of design, I think I will never make it. When I hear her monologues on design matters, I wish I were her. She is a powerhouse of energy and smarts, and I am in awe of her, but inside, she is just like me. So I'm thinking about love and honor and God and religion. One of the other things I also consider is the idea of wonder. Wonder is this very particular feeling that we get when we are overwhelmed in a good way by something that is, that we understand, but we, in the same sense, don't completely comprehend. We feel it when we fall in love, or when a child takes its first steps. Hang on. We feel it when we look up and see the Milky Way. But it's a surprisingly fine and precise feeling. Most people don't, for instance, feel wonder when they see a complex mathematical equation. For them, it's just too far removed from their understanding to feel that, to be able to really relate to it. Now, some of you in the audience, of course, do, because you understand enough to be able to recognize a particular genius and to relate to it. And you have enough knowledge to be able to comprehend what you're seeing, while at the same time thinking, how can this be? Or how did you do that? So mere admiration tips to wonder when you marvel at something that is sort of just outside your grasp. And these words, wonder and marvel, are rich with history, and they're bound up equally with religion and magic. And myself, again, despite being a raving atheist, I'm able to walk into a cathedral when the choir is singing and drop to my knees. It is so overwhelmingly glorious. You fill a vaulted ceiling with gold filigree and ornamented detail, and sprinkle the space with the light from stained glass windows, and we're completely defenseless in the face of wonder. Now, I think this is really important because if you can create wonder, you've not only made a powerful emotional connection, but you've also inspired curiosity, and there's also a close link to inspiration. So let's go back to church for a moment. Early religious teachings tell us that inspiration is an operation of the Holy Spirit acting through men. It is divine prompting or guidance. And it's also the act of drawing in breath. So we walk into that church and we look up, see something wonderful, and we are inspired. Delicious cake, your smell so sweet, it brings me to my knees at the oven door. I lick your taste from my fingers and sweep up your crumbs. Okay, so let's talk about inspiration for a moment. The really super cool and very important thing about inspiration is that it can occur at any time for any reason. It can come out of the strangest situations, and in fact, it's cross-pollinating. So I can create a piece of artwork that is maybe seen by a playwright, which inspires that person to write something into a play, which is then maybe seen by a musician, and that person may be inspired to create a particular piece of music, which may be heard by a scientist, which gives them some kind of idea to approach a new thought or whatever, and that just goes on and on and on. And the incredible thing to me is that this is completely undervalued in our society. People in the arts are seen as nice to have rather than have to have. And but when I'm asked to create something or contribute something to a cause or to society, I'm completely confident that by making things of wonder and beauty, that I'm contributing a lot in ways that can't be measured or monetized, but are still really valuable. And one of the reasons that I'm really excited to be here at PopTech is that I don't usually get to communicate or interact with people outside of my own field. And in particular, I've been wanting to connect with scientists. Because I'm one of those people who, doesn't really know a lot about science, but, I'm interested. And I really, it's difficult to catch up, but a lot of it seems really inaccessible. And I'm also someone who's really alarmed by the rise in religious fundamentalism and superstition. And I can't quite figure out why science and academics in general have traditionally been so cold, because I know there's wonder and love there. It's just that you don't generally see it presented that way. So I wonder if there's some way to bring the lessons of the relationship between religion and art and love into the way science and other disciplines are presented. And I confess to having fantasies of, a hall with where we meet on Sundays that's illuminated or painted all over with cell division and firing neurons and speeding neutrinos. Where we gather on Sundays to hear the latest news in science and sing hymns about Fibonacci sequences. But, starting smaller, it takes a lot of energy and love to do the work that I do. And if I'm going to spend the time, I'd really rather do it on something worthwhile, something other than, say, running shoes. Marian Bantjes was my mother. She died December 22nd, 2006. She was born in England and probably should have never left, as she was eccentric in a way that would have been perfectly normal in Britain. But she had many close friends in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada, where she settled and raised 3 kids on her own and worked and put herself through university and was active in many women's organizations, all at the same time. Then she taught sociology. She had dogs, Dunya and then Phoebe, who was an undeniably bad dog. She had cats, Huffy and then Suki, who was an undeniably bad cat. She was small like a little bird, despite eating a lot of bread, butter, honey, and chocolate. We were very close, though I regret being cruel when I was a teenager. She cracked me up. She would have liked these colors. I miss her like crazy. So I just want to put all that in your ear, give you something to think about, and please remember, always write your love letters by hand. That's it.